Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Rob Zombie's Halloween. This movie came out in 2007. It is a movie that he no longer likes. Basically, he says he had a miserable time working on it because the executives at the movie network were constantly on his butt, like every day, talking about this is a piece of crap and you need a better editor and stuff like that. And you know, it's funny because they gave him a new editor and he decided he was going to keep his editor and just put the new editor in like a room. And that was one of his biggest flaws and everything. He should have listened to the new editor and stuff. I do agree with what Rob Zombie said. He said that, these executives in suits, they think they know more than fans, writers, and directors and stuff. And they think they can create a movie on their own. That is, honest to God, the truth. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. Movie interference is one of the worst things ever, but sometimes you need movie interference. Now, this isn't going to be a movie of me ragging on Rob Zombie because, I have no ill will towards that dude. I've never really listened to his music outside of that song for Edge from the WWE. But he voiced the lizard, Dr. Kurt Connors in that MTV Spider-Man. He did a really good job. He is a very artistic person. He has a vision. The problem I think with him and his projects, because I remember he tried to put out the Monsters at one point and people really ragged on the trailer and everything, talking about the editing problems and this and that. I think his biggest problem is he needs a co-creator. He needs somebody to basically see his stuff, help him co-create something, be all and just pull him back, be like, okay, look, that's too much. Sometimes less is better, and sometimes doing this would be better. There's no shame in that. Look at Stan Lee. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created some amazing stuff. Once Jack left, Stan Lee's original projects never took off the way they did when he worked with Jack Kirby. Bill Finger and Bob Kane was the same way. Bob was nothing after Bill Finger left and everything. Bob just took all the credit and thought he was all this and that, but Bob was the idea man. So, and there was something else. I think Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman was the same way. They created Ninja Turtles. Once they went their same way, one did a comic on his own, and it just didn't have the same success as when both of them worked together. They needed each other. One can't coexist without the other when making something. And I believe that's what Rob Zombie needs. He needs somebody to help him co-create. Because the thing about his movie is that, yes, it is bad in an unbearable kind of way, but the concept of it is intriguing and good. Also, it's hard because he's working on a movie that many people love and everything. So when you recreate it and retell it, it's gonna rub people the wrong way. And like I said before, the concept and everything is great. And maybe if it was an original movie, an original character, it would have worked. But there are other flaws within the movie. Basically, he just kept going further and further and further, and he needed somebody to pull him back and be all look, man, let's cut some of this out, let's retool some of this, and let's recast some of these stars. One of the major problems I have with this movie was the acting. That family in the beginning of the movie was just so unbearable. I don't know if their acting is bad or even if it's good, but it was just, they were so unbearable and everything. And so when the family is unbearable to watch, It's cringy when you hear them talk because their acting isn't always where it needs to be. And like in the beginning, because he retold the story, showing that Mike Myers was bullied as a child and that he has homicidal tendencies and everything. He likes to kill dead animals, or he likes to kill animals and make them dead. Kill dead animals. What does that even mean? He likes to kill animals and stuff. But the problem is that entire sequence went on for a very long time. It went on for around 20 or 30 minutes for the entirety of the movie. And you know what? Once Mike Myers got arrested as a kid and he got put in that mental place, I checked out. Now, I did finish the movie, but in a different way. I watched it from the beginning to the point where he got arrested. After that, I just fast forward and then I stopped once, like, he donned the mask, and then I kept fast forwarding to whenever he killed somebody, or whenever I saw boobs and everything. I'm all like, hey, what is this about? And then I stopped. But when I kept skimming through the movie, of course, I lost a lot of the content, but I saw enough to make an opinion of how I feel about this movie, and that is just too much. And it needs to be dialed back. And some things don't have to be like shown. So in this movie, I'm just gonna list how he missed the mark with this movie and things I just particularly didn't find all that interesting and feel like why it's not that good of a movie. But I will say, at least it had blood and gore, so that's a good thing because this is a slasher movie, unlike the 2018 movie and stuff. So, what are the problems exactly? Well, for the most part, this movie is just torture porn. It's too vulgar and everything. Like, okay, let's start in the beginning with the family. The family is just, like I said before, unbearable. They are extremely vulgar. Now, I do not care if you retell how Mike Myers became the serial killer that he is. A lot of fans have problems with that. See, the thing with me is I'm not really a Halloween fan. I'm a Scream fan. And well, one of the problems I've had with like the first Halloween movie and the 2018 movie and even Halloween Kills, because those are the only ones I saw, is that things just seem to happen for the sake of happening. There's really no backstory to anything. Like, there's no real strong connection between the killer and the final girl. I've always wondered, like, because a lot of things people love about Mike Myers is the mystery. Like, they don't care what his motive is. He's just a mentally ill patient who goes on a killing spree on Halloween and stuff, or just in general and stuff. And he just stopped Lori for whatever reason. Now, it has been retconned. Sometimes she is his sister, sometimes she is not. And in the first one and in the 2018 one, basically she's not. He's just some girl he stalked in whatever reason. And for whatever reason, he's obsessed with her to keep coming back after her over and over again. And she's obsessed with him after that one encounter. That don't make a lot of sense. And it would be nice if they had somewhat of a connection, kind of like Scream, like with Sydney and Billy and all the other killers and stuff, Or at least, and I know what you did last summer, because at least the connection with Ben Willis and those 4 teens was that they ran him over and left him for dead. But, so I don't mind if they change his backstory. But it's too much of a backstory. It just kept going on and on and on. And it's two conflicting narratives. Is Mike Myers a person who just goes after revenge for those who pick on him and don't give him what he wants? Or is he just a crazy person who goes out killing people because he does harm animals and stuff? So which is it? We get a tidbit of the animal abuse, but we get more of the bully abuse. So those two are conflicting, so you don't know which his motive is and stuff. And, he's a very disturbed little child who constantly gets picked on. But the family is just so grotesque. They're constantly, like, cursing and having sexual innuendos. And they're constantly shouting at one another. I get it. He comes from a broken home. And a lot of people do, but it just went on for way too long. Another thing that was really disturbing was like, okay, they recreated the scene when he kills like his sister. And remember how she was like topless and all this other stuff. But this one had just got through doing her boyfriend and she's half naked, just wearing a shirt. But she's in a pose in a certain way where you can see some butt cheeks and everything else. And then he rubs his fingers on her thighs, making her think it's her boyfriend. That is disgusting. So is he incest as well? Or is he just like a porn torture kind of person? And, that was just like disgusting to see. So, ugh, you know what I'm saying? And so with all like, the gratuitousness of like the raunchiness and the verbal abuse and the physical abuse and all that, it just went on and on and on. They didn't have to show that much. They could have easily just went one or two ways. Either show him getting picked on by his family or him picked on by the bullies at school. It would have been more better if they just would have left the bullies at school out and just shown the family, because everybody is crummy to him except for his mom. And so, but the problem with all of this is there's no suspense. This movie lacks suspense. Even when I got to the killing scenes, I didn't feel like there was nothing leading up to that. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm scared for this character, nothing like that. Because when he showed up, he just showed up, and he's not that intimidating and stuff by his presence. One of the things about the original is that, we see him as a little kid, just like roaming around the house in his little clown outfit. And for whatever reason, he just starts stabbing his sister. It is suspenseful and it is mysterious. But here we know he's angsty and he's aggressive, but there's no suspense leading up to him going to off his family and everything. And it just, when you don't have that suspense factor, you just don't feel that invested. Another problem I had with this movie was all of the nudity and everything, and the sex. And what's worse is that even though these are adults playing teenagers, it's still teenagers naked and having sex and then getting murdered as they're topless or completely naked. It really feels like torture porn and everything. Like there's the scene when they come in on the sister and they show like her butt, cheek, thigh, and leg area in that seductive pose, and it kind of just pans there for a couple of seconds. And it almost just feels like he tried to, like, here's the thing. Once you get past all the like bullying and parent stuff for like over 20-30 minutes, then it's just basically the first movie. He escapes the mental ward, he goes on a killing spree, and that's basically it. It's just retelling that same story but in a different like way. And he tried to capture that nudity aspect from the older like 78 movie. Here's the problem with that. One, even though this movie came out in 2007, times are different. We don't always have to see nudity in a movie. Yeah, it's fun when you do see it, especially when you're a teenager. But here's the thing. One of the reasons why there was so much nudity in the 70s and the 80s is because those movies were made by horny men, and they wanted to make other men horny as they watched the movie. And it's because, that's really the only way you can see nudity out of that, or a Playboy magazine. Well, we're living in different times now, and we have the internet, and you can see a nude person 24/7 if you want on the internet. So it's not that same feel. So, like, say somebody like me, like when I watched the Highlander movies as like a teen and I saw nudity, I'm like, woohoo, and everything. But now as an adult, it's just like, whatever, it's on the internet 24/7, so who cares? You know what I'm saying? So don't show it unless you have a very good reason to show it. And it's a little bit hypocritical of how he showed it. He showed it with 3 of the women in the movie who play teenage girls. There's first the sister who's having sex with her boyfriend, and she is topless and everything. And then she dies. And then there is the one girl in the middle of the movie. She's completely butt naked. And I mean, completely butt naked. And she dies completely butt naked and everything. And not only that, but then we see Mike Myers carrying her off completely butt naked. And it just felt so unnecessary. Then you have Danielle Harris. And with Danielle Harris, which I am glad she's in this movie because it's kind of like a cool nod to the Halloween movie she was in back in like the 90s and stuff. But like she's topless doing her guy, and then all of a sudden she gets stabbed, and she's stabbed topless but wearing pants. And through the ending of the movie, she's constantly being stabbed and lying on the floor in blood and like topless and everything. And it's like, why did she still have to be topless and everything? You know? And it's just kind of like, yes, I will give that like credit. That was an interesting visual that we've never really seen. You've never really seen a new girl topless and covered in blood and stuff like that. So visually, I can understand the appeal of that for an artistic reason. Not autistic, but artistic reason. I hate saying those words. They're too similar. But still, it felt unnecessary. It just literally felt like he was trying to recapture the 70 movies by also getting a bunch of guys like horny and everything. And it was degrading, like no matter how you look at it. And I feel bad for those three actresses because I don't know how they really feel about doing that. I mean, it's one thing to hire a model or a stripper or a porn star for like a nude scene in a theatrical movie, but to hire actresses and doing it in this day and age is just pointless. Like 80% of actresses from the 60s, 70s, and 80s regret getting nude in movies today and everything. And many of them did it because they was forced to do it by the director or the studio, and they felt like if they didn't do it, they would lose out on their Hollywood career. They were basically being blackmailed into doing that and stuff. And I say hypocritical because, okay, I understand a love scene might be like topless, whatever. You don't have to show the body parts, but like if they do, okay, whatever, and then cover up after that. Not have them run around naked, getting slashed to death. You know what I'm saying? But it's hypocritical because his wife, Rob Zombie's wife, is also in this movie. She plays the mother in the beginning of the movie, and the mother is a stripper. And every time she's supposed to have a nude scene, which you think she would because she's a stripper, and there's an article about her naked, but her things are covered up, like with pasties. She is never nude in this movie, ever. And you would assume that a stripper would be the prime person to get topless in a movie because she's a stripper, but she never does. So it's kind of like, okay, so apparently you did not want people to see your wife naked when her character plays an adult and her character is a stripper, but yet you have all these other females that are playing teenagers completely either butt naked or topless in a movie. Make it make sense. So that is why the nudity and all the sex and stuff in this movie was pointless and stuff. Well, that and other reasons. And well, that's why it was hypocritical. But it was really pointless and everything. Another problem I had was just the suspense and the nature of Mike Myers not being intimidating. Like I said before, I fast forward till you got all like, the killing parts and stuff. And when he snuck up on people and killed people, I never felt that he was in the stalkery kind of mode. He just kind of appears like Nemesis from Resident Evil. He just appears out of nowhere. Also, Tyler Mane did not seem that intimidating as Mike Myers. Now, here's the craziest thing. When Tyler Mane was in the first X-Men movie as Sabretooth, he was intimidating looking. And in fact, he's my favorite version of Sabretooth in live action because while the other dude had more charisma, Tyler Mane actually looked really cool and looked very big and intimidating. Here, he just seems slender, huge, you know what I'm saying? And you don't get that same feeling like when you watch the original movie, or better yet, when you watch the 2018 movies. So he just seemed like a dude who's just standing there and everything, but he never stood there in a very creepy, intimidating kind of way that built to the suspense of when these people got killed. Another problem I have with these movies that the characters seem very uninteresting. The characters are just like obnoxious, just like the family. They're very grotesque. They're constantly swearing. They're edgy. It's like this movie is a slasher movie infused with metal. You know what I'm saying? Like it has that rocker vibe to it, you know? And so when you have characters that are unbearable, and half of your cast can act and the other half can't, and when you have all this gratuitousness and pointlessness in the movie, it's not going to make for a very enjoyable movie and everything. Basically, it just feels more like a true crime story than that of a slasher movie, where it's just a guy who's pissed off and just wants to kill people for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And another problem is the cast is too famous. Um, I've said this before with like other movies. If you have a star-studded cast, most likely your movie's not gonna do well. It just really isn't, you know what I'm saying? Because those movies tend to just do badly. Now, I've never watched his second Halloween movie, and I don't plan on after watching this one, but I do hear he takes liberties with the Laurie character, and he changes her up and everything. Um, like I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know how I feel about Laurie after watching the first Halloween in the 2018. Something just doesn't make a lot of sense, even with those movies. And so that's just my thoughts on those movies. Like, once again, it's not like a dig at like necessarily him, because like, he's a rocker, you know what I'm saying? He's not like a movie maker, but he wanted to, dip his toes in it. But if you're gonna dip your toes in something you're not familiar with, then you're gonna need help. And he didn't want to take the help that was given to him. And well, because of that, he did not want to make a third movie. And this is one of those times where you need to get over your ego and over yourself and learn to accept help. I remember one time when I was in an art class in college, I had created this really cool, monstrous looking thing, and a lot of people liked it, and the teacher liked it. Only problem is my background. I had grass as a background because the thing I made looked like it moved. So I'm like, okay, so it's running on grass. She said the grass didn't make no sense and that I should change the background. Well, me being full of myself, I did not change the background, and my grade, she did not give me no good grades. So many years later, I look back at that project on the computer and I'm all like, you know what? She was right. So many years later, I changed the background of it finally and stuff. I took the grass out, I put it in a black background, and it looks a million times better. And I wish I would have listened to the criticism she gave me, but I did not. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.